So I was having issues with my AC fans. I got a new AC unit in the house probably like, let's say about 8 years ago. Lately it's been cooling the house, but it doesn't feel like it's really been like cooling the house. And I've been like, what's going on? Why is this fan not working? Or why is this AC not working as well? Because I was outside one day, just weed whacking or something. I noticed that everything, I heard it kick on, but the condenser unit, which sits outside of your house, which I'm sure you've all seen, it's like a giant square with a bunch of, it looks almost like a giant radiator that there's a fan in the middle of it. The fan wasn't spinning. The fan's job is like suck the air through and kind of move it through. So I was like, well, that's weird that the fan's not spinning, because that's actually like a big part of like, you know, the setup. So I did a little research, and it looks like the capacitors can go on the fan quite often. And I also realized that like every time my AC would kick on, and this is a new phenomenon, that like my lights would dim a little bit, and the capacitor seems like it might be the thing. So I picked up a new capacitor. I've never done this before. I don't know if this will work, but like we're gonna go figure it out, and then I'll give you a rundown of what the capacitor looks like, and then how to find it on your fan. And it seems pretty simple. It seems like a couple bolts, and you know, just making sure you turn off your stuff. Like as always, turn the power off so you don't shock yourself. All right, so you're probably wondering what a capacitor is. I'm not an electrician. I'm not an electric person. I know enough to be dangerous is the phrase I usually use. I know enough to break stuff. So this is basically what a capacitor looks like. As you can see, this is the bad one. I basically am keeping this so I have this information here. So your capacitor has 3 tags to it. One that it's got one that powers the fan, one that goes to the system, and one that's your common. You take the old one off and you put a new one on, and you basically just match up your 3 wires to your 3 ports. So it's literally unplugging 3 ports from the thing. So what does a capacitor do? The capacitor basically stores electricity. Again, I'm not an expert, I'm an electrician. I'm sure some of this information can be found better somewhere on the YouTube, but in general, it stores power. It's also a reason that even if you have all the power killed to remove the old one, there still probably might be a little bit of a charge in here. That's why I usually wear gloves when I do it, or you can even take like, you know, something to discharge the voltage, like a giant screwdriver, for example. You know, it's not a huge charge once everything's killed, but you can still definitely shock yourself, for sure. And the reason it stores electricity is because like a fan, an HVAC unit, is big, and even though it's wired to your house, it needs an initial oomph to get going, to kind of get that fan going. That's why sometimes the fan can still run if you go out there and push it yourself. In theory, if your fan's not running because the capacitor is bad, you actually can go out there and like kind of almost kickstart it with like a giant, you know, stick or something like that. Now, is that convenient? No, because it goes off and on at different times of the day and night, and it's not really a good thing to do, a good habit to get into. So there's capacitors that just kind of like kickstart stuff. Then there's also capacitors that not only kickstart, but they help the system run consistently. So there's run capacitors and there's kickstart capacitors. I don't know if I'm using the proper terms, I'm probably not. But that's basically what the 2 capacitors can do. And because they overheat and because they can be pervious to the elements, they also sit in an oil usually. Now, this one's sitting in castor oil. I've seen them in like plant oil too, or like vegetable-based oil or plant-based oils. I forget what they're called. Basically, this whole cylinder is full of oil. So that actually kind of helps kind of regulate the heat and the temperatures and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of sits out there and it's not as impervious to the weather. But it still goes bad. I mean, this doesn't look bad, but if you see right here, this is basically fried and rusted out here, and that's enough. That's the fan mechanism right here. That is the essential, basic, dumb idiot that I am guides to capacitors. That's why you need them. That's why if the house isn't cooling, if the fan's not running, sometimes you'll get a little bit of a brownout type of going, like a brownout, like lights dimming situation, because it's just taking more power to get them going. Those are all kind of symptoms that your capacitor's kind of going bad. And it's a cheap enough fix that even if you fix it and it's not the actual problem, it's not going to break the bank. It's worth, like I said, this was like 18 bucks shipped. It's worth trying. It's like, what's the cheap fix before what's the expensive fix of like calling out an HVAC guy? I know that not a lot of people are going to say that. They're going to say, oh, you should call someone who knows what they're doing or whatnot. But at the end of the day, to me, it's worth spending the 20 bucks to see if that solves the problem, as opposed to like a service call, which could cost you hundreds of dollars. Not a cheapskate, but obviously if I don't have to spend hundreds of dollars and spend tens of dollars to fix the problem, I'm going to do that. So that's why we're here. All right. This is the unit. As you can see, it's the giant radiator. And there's the fan. This fan doesn't spin. Hopefully I'll record for a little bit, see if it kicks on. Maybe we'll hear it kick on, and then you'll see the fan not spin. So it kicked on. I actually had to get that going, but the fan with a stick, I just used a stick over there, got it going. Obviously a stick's not intuitive, but that fan needs to spin. This fan is not kicking on immediately, which is an issue. So yeah, I think that's what's happening here. So first thing you want to do is kill the power, so you don't shock yourself, because that's important. There's also a secondary spot where you kill the power too. So you're basically turning the power off twice. You look up here, oh, there's a nice little bee's nest too. But you gotta pull this out. I don't plug it in, I just put it there. And what we're going for is, this is our back access panel. It's got all your specs, got all your information about being shocked, which obviously we're trying to avoid. And you gotta take out 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, and then it'll get us access to the panel. Let's go now. There it is, right here. It's literally just one little gap right there. Then you have your plugs. It's 3 plugs. One's for the fan, one's for this, one's for that. So the fan, that's the fan one that's not kicking on. That says fan right there. I don't know if you can read that on the camera. And it looks a little bit corroded. So that's probably our problem. So I'm gonna first take a photo of this as is so I can put it back together. And I need to get a nut driver small enough to take that off. And then we'll do a quick swap out and we should be good to go. I don't know if the camera picks this up, but you have fan, Herm, and C. And obviously you just want to basically make sure the right one plugs into the right one. And it should be good to go. So there you have it. The hardest part about the whole project was making sure I had the right capacitors, and that's just a lot of like matching up numbers and all type of stuff, taking a photo of this number, making sure I do the right research and all that kind of stuff to make sure I had it. So, but it wasn't that difficult at all. Literally 1 bolt held the whole thing in, just popped the tops off, 4 bolts to remove the panel, and that was it. I would rank it scale of difficulty like probably like a 4 or 5, maybe a little higher if you're scared of electric or have an uncomfortableness about electric. I know some people that they love doing DIY but they don't do electric or whatever it is. So as long as you kill the power, practice basic safety to it, you should be fine. But it saves you a tremendous amount of time, effort, and money. It's been a couple days since I've installed it and it works fine. The house is definitely much cooler, consistently cooler. It actually feels like it's like the temperature that's actually on the thermostat in the house is what's reading. It also works well because the fan just kind of also helps like push the dehumidification through the house. And sometimes the AC is running on a dehumidifier cycle, not as opposed to an AC cycle. And a dehumidifier cycle is actually really good at keeping the air cool too. So that's it. It wasn't terribly difficult. I would definitely recommend taking a stab at it yourself if you feel comfortable. I'm by no means an expert. I'm by no means an HVAC expert or electrical expert, but this was a very something I felt very comfortable doing, and I don't feel comfortable doing a lot of electrical myself. So take that for what that's worth. But 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10 as far as the difficulty DIY scale of some sort. So there you go. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.